Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's hump day, camel. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and tonight is Untethered Live Chill Stream Night. How's it going out there in the world? How are things? How's the weather? How's your stock portfolio? What's your social security number? You know, just the normal stuff. Who's first in chat? DJ John, what's up, my brother? How you doing? Are you out of the hospital yet? Are you okay? Did you get pumped full of green stuff and sent home with a lollipop, or did they pack you up and take you in deeper into the labyrinth of the sick? How did it go? DJ is first in chat. He says, hello, everyone. I'm out of the hospital now. Well, that answers my question. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you're getting better. I'm glad you probably feel like having some chicken nuggets, huh? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Amanda says, here's your gold star for being first in chat. DJ, you got a whole collection of those stars, don't you, buddy? And she says, hi. Patty says, hey, DJ John, glad you're out of the hospital. Prayers and smiley faces with breasticles. Yes, prayer has a lot to do with that. It absolutely does. Amanda says, DJ, are you home yet? Yeah, see, he said so. And how are you doing? Yes, how are you doing? Chicken nugget good or just home good? Amanda says, hi, Patty. Well, right off the bat, chat jump. There we go. Amanda says, hi, Untethered Live family. Good to see you all. Happy hump day, camel. I hope everyone had a good smiley face. I hope everyone is good, smiley face. That makes more sense. Hi, Jake. How are you tonight? Heart, smiley face, heart, exclamation point, times 3. How am I? That me? Full, had spaghetti for dinner. I got a nice hot cup of coffee here. That always makes everything better. Patty says, hi, Miss Amanda Rose. DJ says, hi, Amanda and Patty. They put me on some strong steroids, so I might grow some breasts. Well, at least being at home won't be boring. You know what I'm saying? That'll be something. That's better than most men fare. Patty says, we're all good over here in Tennessee. Prayers and music and roses. Well, Tennessee is the place for music, and I wish I was there. And I wish I could do music stuff, but I guess my voice has other plans. Man, I guess I'll just have to become a drummer or a bass player. It's kind of hard for a front man to do after 40 years, but I could do that. Amanda says, LOL. Well, at least you will always have titties to play with. See? That's what I'm saying. Won't be boring. You could even, like, paint them up, make faces with them, get a puppet show going on, dress it up, make it look like somebody you know. Yeah. Get the other guy involved. Have a Mexican standoff. This town ain't big enough for the both of you. Anyway. Amanda says, well, we're glad you're doing better, DJ. Absolutely. And Patty says, oh, say it ain't so, DJ John. Upside down smiley face. How did you do that? Whew. Don't take long. DJ John says, I did feel like food. No nuggets, though, on the menu. Or should I say, chicken filet, or fillets, if y'all say it that way. Fillets. Chicken fillet. If you're a Cockney, you say fillet, right? And Amanda says, LOL, DJ. DJ says, how is everyone? Well, I'm fantastic. How are you? Thank you. Amanda says, I'm good. Thanks for asking. And Patty says, the rain finally came and went. Well, that was uneventful. At least it didn't come and stay. That's something. Amanda says, it was nice here today. A little muggy, but okay. Yeah, it was hot. Not hot, but, just steady all day. We had rain day before yesterday and possibly yesterday, but I can't really remember. Patty says, we had Arby's for dinner. Gyros and roast beef. Nice. Did you get some au jus to dip your gyro in? I like that. Amanda says, nice, Patty. We had leftover spaghetti. Spaghetti's always good. Second time is better. DJ says, that's good. Did you have pulled pork? Heard so much about Arby's over in Britain. I don't know if Arby's does pulled pork. If they do, it's a new thing. It's hard to find good pulled pork in a fast food environment. You about got to have a pig picking to have one of those. Amanda says, I had a rough night last night and almost couldn't get out of the bed this morning. So I'm surprised I got anything done today, especially dinner. Well, you got it. I have days like that. They're called Tuesday. DJ says, so's here that, Amanda, you might have need. What? I don't know what that says. Amanda, you might have needed it, a good rest. You might have needed a good rest. Right. I got that part. I don't know what SOZ means. I'm sure it meant something, but that's a new one. Could it be I hear that? I hear that, Amanda? Could be that. Could be that sucks. I don't know. Amanda says, probably I was up all night. Me too. Amanda says, and probably kept Jake up most of the night. Probably. DJ says, I woke up at 6 in the morning with a nurse injecting me in the behind. Were you asleep bent over? Or did she bend you over and you woke up while she was doing it? How do you wake up with somebody injecting you in the behind? That's weird. Amanda says, Patty, how's your son doing? It's a good question. And Amanda says, woohoo, fun. And by the way, what was she injecting into your behind? Was it good stuff or was it just, gotta put something in you? If it's good stuff, totally acceptable. Was the nurse hot? All these things are factors that play into whether or not that's a pleasurable waking up. Could be. Amanda said, did she rub it first, DJ? Also a good question. DJ says, that was the nice thing about it, smiley face. So I'm guessing all of the above. Here's to you, buddy. There are perks to being sick. I got a nice hot cup of coffee here. It's a regular cup of Joe. That's the way I like it, don't you know? For show, that's how it goes. It's regular Joe. Don't you want to have a cup with me? Talk about the old days, how it used to be, how it could be again one day, maybe. If so, go to the kitchen, pour yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, and let's get talking about it. If you find yourself in the unforgivable condition of not owning a coffee cup, I can fix that. You can get one in the description below. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic. However, there are lots of new options down there, including but not limited to stainless steel tumblers, the big ones and the little ones. They have locking lids. They hold your coffee hot for hours. They have an Untethered Live Bible Study logo on the front and all my platforms on the back. It's beautiful, and it looks great on a coffee table. Get one while supplies last, or get you a hat also, or shorts. I got shorts in there. Oh, no, shorts. No. And on the back, it says, just say it. Oh, no. You know it. You know you want them. Anyway, Like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box. You want to show a little bit of love? You want to throw a little clang-a-lang in my pocket if you want to? You can do that right over there. Or hit that Cash App, $JakeJohnsonBand, and I do greatly appreciate that. One more thing. If you'd like to have a place you can hang out with your buddies outside of YouTubeverse, outside of the oppressive censorship of their paying attention to all your doings and me misreading everything you write down, if you would like to have a place to share pictures, videos, texts, and chats with one another and get to know each other and, general over-there-ness, you can do that at facebook.com/UntetheredLive family. It's all one word. The link is in the chat, and I look forward to seeing you over there. Now, on with the fun and the festivities. Amanda says, LOL, right, DJ? And DJ says, can you dig it? Yes, I can. I can dig it. Kevin Cox, what's up, my brother? Nice to see you, my man. How you doing? How are things over there in Florida way? Kevin says, hey, Jake. And Amanda says, oh, yeah, can you dig it? I can. Amanda says, hi, Kevin. DJ says, hi, Kevin. Thumbs up. And hiya, Jake. What's up, DJ? Nice to see you, buddy. Kevin says, hey, Amanda. Amanda, HBJ, Patty, and DJ John. Where's April at tonight? Aaron's here. What's up, Aaron? Nice to see you, my friend. How are you doing this Wednesday evening? Amanda says, Aaron Heller. Aaron says, clappy, clappy. Uh-oh. Linda Davis is here. She said, hump day, happy hump day. Hi, Linda. How are you? Humpy day. Humpty-doo, Humpty-Dumpty. I had something and it went away. Never mind. Amanda says, hi, Linda, hun. Vibrating heart. Patty says, Kevin is Jake's sportscaster. That tickles me when you play the update music. Reminds me of WKRP in Cincinnati. Yes, it is. That's just for you, Patty. I remember that show. Yes, I'm that old. Speaking of things that used to be, they just don't make good TV like that anymore. WKRP in Cincinnati was a great show. MASH was a great show. Magnum PI was a great show. The Smurfs was a great show, right up until they noticed that there was 100 Smurfs and one female Smurf, and there was a baby. Then it just kind of went away. I guess nobody wanted to tackle that. Amanda says, Arby's has the meat. They have the thin sliced pork, not necessarily pulled, though. Ah, I see. Yeah, it's not pulled pork if it ain't pulled. Kevin Cox says, I'm at Beef O'Brady's, having a sirloin and a loaded mashed potato. Nice. Already ate the salad. It pairs well with 3 old fashions. If that's what it does for you. Oh, S-O-Z is sorry in Britain. Gotcha. In British. So's? You just say so's? Saws? Size. I've never heard that before. It's interesting. You learn something new every day. Thank you for clarifying. I'm thinking about that steak. Top sirloin. Yummy. Amanda says, I used to clean the carpets at Beef O'Brady's. I hated making sure all the balls came clean. LOL. Beef's is good eating, though. It is. I've never eaten there, but I'm sure it is. Anything that serves beef grilled to perfection, it's got to be good. What were you doing cleaning the balls? How do you learn such a skill? Where can I sign up? I mean, Amanda says, oh, okay, DJ. Oh, no. Right on. DJ John says they started doing pulled pork in Florida. Interesting. Oh, Patty, you're just in luck. All right. We got our sports update from Kevin Cox down in Florida. Kevin says hockey playoffs are going. The M Panthers are taking on the Tornado Maple Syrup Leafs. Maple Syrup Leafs? Maple Syrup Leafs. Syrup doesn't come from leaves. Syrup's up by a game, and in the second game, the score is Syrups 3, Panthers 2. Back to Patty. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Maple Syrup Leaves? That's the name? Leaves? Leafs with an F? That's a weird... It's got to be Canadian. That's not how English works. Anyway. Amanda says, yes, DJ, Florida is well versed in barbecue of all kinds. Barbecue restaurants on every corner. And yet, they don't know how to make North Carolina barbecue. Kevin says, as usual, it's like me, hot. Well, Florida is, you got two temperatures there, hot and oh my God. That's pretty much it. Bill Bennett, what's up, buddy? He says, hello, Untethered Live family. Good to see you all. Well, good to see you too, Bill. Nice to see you. Come on in, take your shoes off, set a spell. Amanda says, hi, Bill. Patty says, that was so cool, Kevin. Kevin's the man. Kevin says, I clean my balls every day. And Amanda says, LOL, it's a sports bar. It has soccer, basketball, football, tennis, baseball, and golf balls on the carpet. Yeah, when I sit on the floor, it's like that. Amanda says, LOL, they have North Carolina barbecue in Florida. No, they don't. They say they do. They don't. Amanda says, besides, I like my barbecue sauce thick, not runny. Well, that's because you put barbecue sauce on your barbecue. We don't. We put vinegar and pepper, spices. Amanda says, those are just balls, Jake. Well, if they're on the floor, then they're floor balls. No, it's not barbecue sauce. We eat the barbecue, not the barbecue sauce. See the difference? Now, it was a culture shock for me, too, because I'm from Florida, and I thought you put barbecue sauce on everything like they do down there. It's basically just ketchup. Anyway, when you get up to a place like Louisiana, Chicago, North Carolina, Tennessee, places that are real particular about their particular brand of barbecue, Texas, there's not a lot of barbecue sauce involved. It's about the meat, not the sauce. Barbecue sauce was invented for people that can't cook meat. Put barbecue sauce on and make it taste better. But if you got good cooked meat, you don't need barbecue sauce. You got meat, which is what it's all about in North Carolina. These are not my opinions. That's just the way they are. And it is a fighting subject. They will get mad about the barbecue. I'm just warning you. Amanda says, it's about the dry rub. Not on pulled pork. DJ says, I've started something now. Nah. Just talking. I want to talk about the old days, though. A lot of good stuff in the old days. A lot of stuff we used to do in the old days we don't do anymore. A lot of stuff we had that we don't have anymore. A lot of looking forward that we aren't doing anymore. Back then, the future was coming at you in every direction. It was wonderful. Colors were vibrant. Girls were sexy. Hair was big. Music was loud. It was wonderful. And now we're here. And for the past 2 decades, 3 decades, it's been the same decade. Starting to get concerned. Maybe we're not going forward anymore. I have a solution to this, but it would probably be easier for me to become a billionaire overnight than it would be to implement my solution. Amanda says, I bet they can't make potato and macaroni salad either. Who's they? Sure they do. Potato salad's wonderful. Kevin says, if you need to pee, have some vinegar barbecue, right? If you want some good old barbecue sauce, then come to the great state of Florida. Right, Amanda? I will send you some real barbecue sauce, Amanda. And Amanda says, LOL, please do, Kevin. I would love some Jimbo's barbecue sauce. Well, it took me a while, but I have grown an affinity for the North Carolina barbecue. It is delicious. And it takes a little while to get used to, of course. You have to change your taste buds with the environment. But once you get accustomed to it, there's very few things in the world that tastes better than fresh pulled pork. Right off the pig, in the middle of the night, half drunk, loud music blaring, some dude named The Hand with a cut-off T-shirt on, standing next to you with a ball cap on that says something that's illegible, talking to an old lady that doesn't appear to be there. That's when barbecue sauce is good. Anyway, what do you think about the 80s or the 70s or the 60s or the 50s or the 40s or the 30s? What do you think about that would be good now? What is something that you noticed about your childhood that should be in your present but isn't? Kevin says, in Juanita, the barbecue sauce is flavored with meth, right? Amanda says, nothing better than Pig Fest in Florida. Yummy, right, Kevin? And Amanda says, LOL, right, Kevin? The sauce will get you going. Well, everything is flavored with meth in Florida, even the water. The alligators are methed up in Florida. It's kind of like Florida's thing. Mullets and meth. Here's a band name for you. Yep, Sonny's Barbecue. Patty says, I like a place in Florida called Sonny's Barbecue. Amanda likes that place too. We got a place here called Pete's Barbecue. They do right on a grill, right in front of you. Big pig. Chopping it up. It's real good. It's like served to order. That's methed up gator. That's right. That's a methed up gator. I wanted to do that show, but somebody stole the idea from me. So, there went that. Aaron says, I miss family-based TV shows and real dinner when people sat down at the same time and ate without phones and tablets. I agree, Aaron. 100%. Absolutely. The dinner table is a thing we should bring back for sure. Where a family sits down and talks about the day or whatever it is they're talking about together. They pray, they eat, they commune. A couple of hours go by after dinner, drinking coffee and chit-chatting. Some of the best times in the world, and we, as a country, don't really do that anymore. Why is that? Amanda says, yes, Aaron, Jake and I do that. Absolutely. Put the phone down. There are times all day long when you can use that phone. Family time is family time. You're supposed to be together. Put the damn thing down and look each other in the eye. That is part of the solution that I have, which is to go back to having regular phones. Just phones. No screen. Just buttons. Remember those? I don't dislike the technology of having a phone or even a smartphone, but they're ruining our lives. They've ruined our children. They've ruined an entire generation of children. They're useless. Useless. And I hate to say that. I have children. I don't like saying that, but it's the truth. It is abuse to put that in front of a child. And everybody knows it, and everybody's guilty of it because nobody wanted to be the guy that didn't let their children advance with civilization. because we were kids and we remember when we were poor, we didn't have the Nike Airs or whatever kids had. We didn't have that, so we didn't want to do that to our children. Unfortunately, it's a little different this time around. This time around, there's a cult-making device that is sucking your family away from you actively all day and all night. And we put it there. And the real adults of us will admit that. The real grown people have to step back and say, yeah, we did that. And now let's fix it. Aaron says, Amanda, Walmart has Sunnies. Do they? DJ says, definitely, Aaron. Thumbs up. And Amanda says, yep, I know, but I'd probably be the one eating it. LOL, probably. And Amanda says, I want a Nextel. No, I'm not talking about going backwards. I had a walkie-talkie when I was 12. Aaron says, bring back ass whooping in Walmart by parents, LOL. Within reason, these kids run the adults. I agree. I believe in an ass whipping. I do. I believe there is some merit to that. I believe in spare the rod, spoil the child. And it's not a popular belief these days. In fact, some people say it's rather animalistic. However, you go look at those kids and look at these kids and compare the two actively, and you'll see a very big difference in those kids. They were respectful, honorable, and they grew up to be good people. That's not going to happen this time around. Unfortunately. DJ says everybody should say grace before you eat, and I agree. And Amanda says, definitely, Aaron, and absolutely, DJ. Jake always says the blessing before dinner. You have to. If you don't show appreciation for the food that you receive, why would he give it to you? You got to be appreciative of what God does for you. And you got to be aware of it. You got to know that you couldn't even draw a breath without his permission. So to have a nice meal with a family in front of you is a blessing. It's worth saying thank you. Aaron says family-based TV instead of these shows of people walking around their house and the dating garbage. Right. Those crazy people with the cameras. Amanda says, yes, Aaron. I know what you're talking about, like the Facts of Life and the Golden Girls and All in the Family and things like that. Yeah. Good Times and what was the one? The Jeffersons. All good shows. Even All in the Family. People of this generation don't get that show because one of the characters is mildly racist. But what they don't understand is that's not what the show's about. It's about that guy coming to terms with a modern society that's growing around him and his family at the same time. It's about him adjusting to reality and knowing right from wrong. So it's centered on him, but it's not about his personality. It's about the alteration of his personality. And you take it in little clips, of course, it seems a little offensive. But if you watch the show, Archie does a lot of growing in that show. I miss those days. Amanda says, yes, Aaron, Married with Children, dinosaurs, stuff like that. Married with Children, yes. Dinosaurs, it's kind of a silly show. Aaron says, even the titles had a message. Family Matters, Full House, all things that died now. Yeah. A lot of that going on these days. Linda Davis says, the kids and I still eat dinner together every night, and we say grace. That's fantastic. Keep that tradition. Keep it large. I'm trying to do that in my household. Just try to keep that some semblance of grounding, because you look around and it seems like the family as an idea is dying. It does seem that way. People don't respect each other. They don't look each other in the eye. Children talk back to their parents. They act like they don't know anything. It's very disgraceful. But that's what modern society has done, is taught these children, this generation of children, that their parents are idiots. Look at any TV show. The dad's always a moron. He's always run over by the wife if she's there. Usually, it's usually a single mother. And the kids are flippant and don't care about their family. They care about themselves, and they're taught hedonism. It's not a good situation we're in. And I'm not an authority on psychology, but I would say that it's a conversation that needs to be had. Amanda says, that's awesome, Linda. And DJ John says, they should bring back burn dances. I used to go a lot. Line dancing, fun times. Oh, I hear you. Line dancing. They did that around here right on up to the mid-90s, and then that kind of faded away too. When I first started playing music, people would come out to watch band, and they'd come out to dance. And then somewhere along the way, they stopped dancing and just started gathering on the dance floor and jumping up and down in place. It's very strange. So now, everywhere I play, nobody dances. If you see somebody dancing, it's two old people dancing. The young people don't dance. I mean, they do something, but it's more like having sex with your clothes on. It's not really dancing. It's weird. We live in a weird world. Clown world. Amanda says, yes, DJ, I used to line dance too. So many have no clue about it nowadays. Right on. Linda says, my youngest still doesn't have a phone, and we all have chores, and they do them because we all belong to this household and don't do it to get paid. That's excellent. I wish every family was like that. Aaron says, the kids shows are that are educational, now they're just dumb and a babysitter for kids. Yeah, plop the kids in front of the TV and disappear. Mommy's got to have a wine and a Xanax. Yep, it seems that way, doesn't it? Remember Mr. Rogers, Captain Kangaroo, Reading Rainbow? Even Sesame Street, but that place, that show has gotten weird. You watch that show as an adult, you're like, hold on a second. I don't know if I feel comfortable with my kids learning these things. It's kind of a strange show. Miss the good old days. I miss scientific endeavor. When I was young, it felt like anything was possible. It felt like some near time would be the future, and the future was way different than what we were now. Shows like Star Trek and Babylon 5 and things like that gave you hope, made you feel like there was a possibility that we were improving as a society. It doesn't feel that way now. Now it feels dreadful. It feels like there's nowhere to go, like we reached the end of a road and there's nowhere to go. Magic School Bus, yes. Good show, Aaron. So how do we solve this problem? Those of us that are already too old to do anything about it but have the benefit of hindsight. We can see that there's a problem, and we might even have ways to fix that problem, but who's going to listen? Buck Rogers, right, DJ? Amanda says Blue's Clues is weird. Yeah, that's grouped in with the new TV shows, and I do not approve. All the new educational shows are not very educational. You get mixed signals, like Dora the Explorer. You watch that show as an adult. Tell me if you don't get more than one kind of signal. Amanda says, but I like Mickey Mouse Club. It had its moments. Disney as a company has turned inside out and upside down from what it used to be. Aaron says, they turned the Cookie Monster into a Veggie Monster and then changed him back. Yeah, because Veggie Monster is stupid. That's weird. Poor Sesame Street trying to stay as woke as they can be. Wokeness has destroyed almost everything it's touched. It really has. So much for being enlightened. And you look back in the old days when they were writing things like the Bible, and you wonder, how did we go so wrong? How did we change so drastically to not be what it looked like we were becoming way back then? The Wiggles is terrible, says Aaron. Yes, it is. That you want your kids to grow up gay? There's a good way to start it. That and the Teletubbies. I'm telling you, that thing has subliminal messages if ever there was a show that had them. Amanda says, Jake is a cookie monster. I like cookies. True. And listen, I remember thinking a lot when I was a child. And as I watched my children grow, I noticed a lack of that. I didn't ever see them thinking. I didn't ever notice them figuring things out. If I didn't tell them, they didn't know. Amanda says, took the words right out of my mouth, Jake. Teletubbies, right? Rich S. What's up, buddy? He says, hi, gang. Nice to see you, Rich. Come on in. We're talking about the good old days. And what's missing from the good new days? Or the bleh new days. Like movies, for example. Look at any movie that has come out in the last 15 years. Any one of them. They seem to be missing something vital, and that is the ability to tell a story that lasts, that sticks in your head. Hee Haw, yes. Lawrence Welk, yes. I watched a lot of Hee Haw when I was a kid. It was a great show. A lot of strangely, overly attractive Southern women. Teletubbies are trans now, says DJ John. Are they really? Well, that proves my point then. Amanda says, Little House on the Prairie. Yes, very good. Aaron says, I didn't let my kids watch Teletubbies. It felt like an acid trip mixed with cracked and meth heads, right? Yeah, I drew the line on some of those things too. I let them watch Barney, but then they started graduating into like SpongeBob and whatever was on Cartoon Network, and I really quickly said, nah, we're not doing that. It just felt weird. Amanda says, they always have been trans, and I didn't know that either. April Rains here. She says, hey, everybody, good to see you all. Hey, April, nice to see you, sweetie. Linda says, I don't have to hit or scream at my kids. I just give them the look. They are more scared of disappointing me than anything else. Amen. My mama could do that, although she did hit me a few times. But she had that look. I can't do it. I've tried. She had a look that would terrify me. Amanda says, hi, April. I never let mine watch Barney, Simpsons, or The Family Guy. I would have rather them watch The Family Guy because at least that's sarcasm on its face, and you can point to that. It's not subliminal. April says, hey, Amanda, how's Tribble? And how are y'all doing? Fantastic and fantastic. Rich S says, I got a movie that tells a good story that you would like. Jerry and Marge Go Large. 2022 starring Annette Bening. Well, I like Annette Bening. I liked her in American President. You ever see that movie with Michael Douglas? That's a good movie. One of my faves. April says, LOL. And DJ says, hi, April, heart. And Linda says, hi, Rich S. And Amanda says, Tribble's a spoiled little brat, a piggy, and mean as hell. And we're good. Love your dog much? April says, hi, DJ John. Linda, good to see you. Heart, heart. Hearts all over the place. Yes, Lord. Linda says, hi, April. What are you guys out doing, April? Y'all taking over the world? Doing anything special? Yeehaw. Rich says, hi, Linda Davis. Love you. Nice. And Amanda says, I love her to death. But am I wrong? You made her that way. How did I make her that way? I did no such a thing. How is it my fault that she's a dog? Dogs do what dogs do. I keep expecting somebody to come around that corner. April says, nothing. I've been at home. I got off work. I came in, ate some spaghetti, and fell asleep. And then jumped up and got on the podcast. You give her everything she wants. I'm supposed to. She's a dog. She has no opposable thumbs. As opposed to what? Would you prefer that I scalded her every day and kicked her down the hallway? She's a puppy. She's an adorable puppy. You can't not love on her. I didn't teach her how to bite. That's just what puppies do. But she's an award-winning puppy dog. She's got that look. Aaron says, and sometimes dogs do. Well, she hadn't done that but one time, but she pisses all over the place. Rich says, a movie I can watch over and over. A Few Good Men. Kind of a guy flick. Yeah, I like A Few Good Men. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. You want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Yep. They used to make great movies because they made different movies. There were people out there exploring ideas. There were people trying to be creative and inventive. And not all of them were fantastic because they tried things. But that's how you get greatness, to try things. Now, all the movies are studio operated. There are no independent makers, and if there are, there are very few of them, and they don't have the money because all the studios have the money. It's all worldwide now, so you got Chinese interests and Vietnamese interests and Korean interests that you have to play into, British, Australian, Brazil. If you can't make movies like in the old days, the bad guy was always Russia or something like that, or China, right? You can't do that anymore. Watch Top Gun Maverick and tell me who the bad guy is. You can't. It's nondescript. In my opinion, that is not the way to write an antagonist to your story. You can't have a nondescript bad guy. They have to have an identity, and it has to be one you dislike. That's why they're the antagonist. But, got to be woke. So they make movies with nondescript bad guys or white guys as bad guys because that's the one guy you can make fun of and not get in trouble about. So what do? Just don't make good movies anymore? Or does somebody need to wake up and smell the roses? DJ says, I love the film Dirty Dozen. That's a good movie. Aaron says, Tribble is pissed off, LOL. Oh, yeah. Amanda says, I like Pulp Fiction, Dirty Dancing, and Roadhouse. All good movies. Rich S says, damn Disney. They have gone from imagination to indoctrination. It's shameful. Yes, it is. And you're absolutely right. And here's the worst part about it. They now own everything. They're buying up franchises left and right, and what they don't outright own, they own the company that owns the thing. Like Star Trek, for example. Star Wars. Well, Skyrim is working on the final deal to buy Star Trek from Paramount, which Paramount has owned it since the beginning. They did split up and became two different things, Viacom and Paramount, and then they went back together, and now they're trying to sell the property outright. Disney has bought Fox. Disney has bought Hulu. I mean, you name it, they got it all. They got their hands in everything. I might be wrong about the Hulu one, but everything else. So all the franchise movies, all the great things from our childhood is all under one umbrella, or soon will be, Disney. Now, when you think of, say, Star Wars, do you think Disney? No, you don't. You think Lucasfilm, little independent film company that makes great sci-fi. Now it's Disney. Now it's going to have a Disney bend. Now everything about Star Wars is going to reflect what Disney has become. Not sure that's a smart move. So now, either they're going to destroy every franchise and we'll have nothing, or somebody is going to have to start inventing new stuff and new characters for us to grow into for the next generation of people. I don't see this as a very important problem, but it is a problem. If you are a person who studies pop culture, such as myself, then pop culture is important. It really doesn't change the way you live. I mean, you can live quite comfortably without movies. We don't need them. That's not a thing. But if you are a fan of film, you have an interest in this story. So if you are a fan of film and you're a fan of storytelling, what happens when all the stories go tits up? Craps out on you. Ain't good anymore. What do you do then? Go back to reading, I guess. Because at least there, your mind is the director. And at least there, a studio can't butt its nose into a process it knows nothing about and change a bunch of stuff to where you have disjointed, badly ended movies that overextend their runtime by an hour. April says, "Hi, Aaron. Good to see you." And Amanda says, "You had it right, Aaron. Trouble. Trouble's trouble." Should be no trouble at all. April says, "Rich, good to see you." Patty, good to see you. Heart, 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 heart. Aaron says, "Hey, April Rain." Or, "Hey, Rain." Linda says, "I ran into my son's ex while picking up my grandson from preschool. She was picking up her girls, and they ran out of the school, pressed her into my arms, and yelled, 'Nona, Linda.'" Nice. "And passed her and ran into your arms." Gotcha. Yeah. I see what you're saying there. My kids called my mama, Mama, and they called their mama, Mommy down the road. I didn't tell them to say that. They came up with that all by themselves. DJ John says, "The new Roadhouse is crap." Yes, it is. A perfect example of how they ruin things. Now, you take the old Roadhouse, a movie that by all standards should suck. It has no plot. It's about something that doesn't exist. It's weak writing at best. And there's no real character development. All the characters are one-dimensional. But that movie's awesome. It's a feel-good movie that you can watch repeatedly and not get tired of it. How did they do that? It's lightning in a bottle. But then you go 40 years later and they remade it with Jake Gyllenhaal, and right off the bat, they screwed it up because they moved its location to South Florida and turned the bar into a tiki bar, but still wanted to call it a roadhouse, even though roadhouses aren't a thing in Florida, or at least in South Florida. So Then they race swapped a few people, gender swapped a few people, added a few people that weren't in the original, and changed the story to MMA fighting instead of bar bouncing, which is what Roadhouse is about, being bouncer. Has nothing to do with fighting at all, except for bouncers have to fight. There you go. And it's a terrible movie. I watched it, and me and Amanda watched it. I think I've seen it twice, and it didn't get better the second time. Rich S says, hey, April Rain. And April says, oh, yeah, Amanda, thumbs up. Aaron says, as a black man, I'm saying that Sinners was a trash-ass woke movie and racist. Really? I've heard mixed things about Sinners. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to write a story about the old South or the old Southern way of doing things. Maybe it takes place in Chicago. I'm not sure, but it's about like mobsters and racism and all that kind of thing. And the director has something to say about racism, but then there's this from dusk till dawn kind of thing going on. But it's a slow burn. It's not like From Dusk Till Dawn where it just kind of happens. It's kind of slow throughout it, turning into vampires and such. I have not watched it. I don't know what it's about, except for the major plot points. And if you say it's woke and racist, I'm not interested in watching it. There is a way to make a movie about racism without being racist. I don't know why they can't do that. It's like they can't help themselves. These people in Hollywood, they are so backwards and so guilty for being so successful for so long that they cannot help themselves but put their own foot in their mouth every single time, and they keep falling for it every time. I'm getting kind of tired of it, and so is everybody else. And if a black man stands up and says, you know what, that's a little racist, I think you made a very valid point there, Aaron, that everybody is starting to notice it's a little bit obnoxious. There are plenty of good movies that handle that subject matter with class and leave it ambiguous. They bring it up, but they don't tell you what to think about it. And that's the key to good storytelling. You talk about controversial topics, but you don't beat people over the head with what you think they're supposed to think. You leave it open. You present both sides of the argument and you let it sit. And let the audience trust that the audience has an intellect, trust that they're not morons, and let them think about what the ending means. That's how you do it. I don't know why they can't do that. I'm not even a good writer and I can do that. Amanda says, oh, Linda. And yes, it is, DJ. And Linda says, made my heart swell. I bet it did. It's always great when kids reciprocate love. I don't know anything about that, but I understand it's great. Amanda says, I've never seen it, Aaron. It's a new movie called Sinners, and it's supposed to be good. This guy, he's made a couple of other movies in the past dealing with the same subject matter, and I can't right off the top of my head think of what they are, but one of them was like a space movie, and one of them was like a body snatchers type movie. He seems to be tackling the subject of racism, only he might be racist himself. So I don't know if that's going to work out, but that seems to be what Hollywood is these days. The thing that they're accusing you of loudly. Aaron says, black people get mad at me for not liking it, but I don't care. That crap was trash. Well, Aaron, listen. There's a thing going on in this country, and it has been for a long time, where people are trying to force people of their own kind into a box, right? And it's especially happening this way in the black community. I see it all the time. Like, what's that guy, Charlemagne the God? You know who I'm talking about? Or the Breakfast Club, or whatever it's called, the little podcast with the black guys. Anyway, Joe Biden can go on there and say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And he says nothing at all. Nothing. Trump says they're bringing rapists and murderers and such, and he's racist, and everybody's on him constantly. Hillary Clinton can say, I carry hot sauce in my purse for chicken on a black podcast. You might as well say, I got a watermelon in here. Would you like? It's nonsense. But they force you into this box, and if you don't agree, or if you think something different, they will ostracize you for it. They will cut you out. You're an Uncle Tom or whatever nonsense words they use these days. I don't agree with this method of thinking, and white people do it too, by the way. And it's just as bad. You got to be able to think for yourself. You've got to be able to look at a situation and go, yeah, that's probably not a smart way to handle that. Or, yeah, I think I could probably say that in a better way. Or, hey, how about try to educate me in a way that I haven't been already? You ever thought about that? Do something unique with your time. But if you can't have your own opinions, the opinions that you are required to espouse don't seem to be all that good. And people are waking up to that. It's the exact opposite of being woke that people are starting. They call it red pilling it now, I think. But like Bill Maher's waking up to the liberal bent that he's been pushed into all his life. He's starting to see that, yeah, that's not a good idea. Why am I repeating that? You know? Or, yeah, that doesn't even make sense. Why am I required to say that? Remember, trust the science. Don't do your own research. Listen to the experts. Turns out all of them were wrong, and now it's coming out that not only were they wrong, but they knew they were wrong, and they said it anyway because what happened came from here, not someplace over there in a wet market. Came from here. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to be specific. So, why? And by the way, just for the reference, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just for reference, if you can go back to my podcast in the beginning of this, and I was live then too, you can see that I knew back then when this first started that something wasn't right. I even had videos taken down by YouTube several times for saying that very thing. This ain't right. There's something wrong here, right? Everybody's saying one thing in lockstep on TV, and it's obvious that that's not correct. It's obvious, like a 3-year-old could see it. Well, that happens in every facet of what's being talked about in today's spaces across the board, whether it be race, DEI, critical race theory, or whether it be liberal or Republican, whether it be math or science or whatever it is we're talking about. Across the board, there's a bunch of bullshit on top. And all dissenting voices are squashed, or they'll ruin your life if you go against the narrative. Why? If you're right, why would you try so hard to shut me up if I say something different? If your idea is correct, why do you care what I think? If the world is round and that's that, why do you care if people say it's flat? Why do you spend millions of dollars to divert people from thinking that? It's obvious, right? You can walk outside and see it, right? So why are you trying so hard to shut people up to say that? That's when my radar goes off. And Linda knows, Amy knows, not Linda, sorry. Amy knows, and she's pointed it out several times that I'm talking about writing a book called Everything is Bullshit. And the reason I want to write that book is this very thing we're talking about. And we're talking about it kind of abstract. I'm not trying to be very specific about any particular thing, but in abstract, everything is bullshit. It's all lies. It's all nonsense. All of it. All the way across. Whatever you pick a subject, you'll find bullshit before you find reality. Why is that? How did we get here? How did this occur right before our very noses? and nobody put a stop to it. It's interesting. Linda says, oh, sorry, I read that one. And Aaron, any black person that would get mad at you for not liking a thing, that person is not your friend. Black or white. Doesn't matter. The fact that they're black means that they're making it an identity thing. Why would a movie be an identity thing? Right? Think about it logically. Why does how you feel about this movie have anything to do with your color of your skin or where you came from or what you've experienced as a culture or a person? It doesn't. It's just cult-like behavior. And you do well to stay away from that kind of behavior. Aaron says, Amanda, it has Michael B. Jordan, an ultra-woke trash actor. Yeah. Wasn't he in the other one, too? Where, like, the old white people would be replaced by demons or something? You remember that movie? What was it called? Now You See Me, I think it was called, something like that. Or Can You See Me, or something like that. Wasn't it the same director and the same actor? Amanda says, so I'm not missing anything. No, you're not. Chat jump, boopity. I need a graphic for chat jump. Where did it go? Amanda says, I like the movie The Help. I think I've seen that. And I think that's the same. That movie and 12 Years a Slave are based on the same idea, aren't they? I think it is. I might be wrong about that. DJ says, they closed Pinewood Film Studios in Britain where they filmed Star Wars. Did they? I did not know that. Closed it permanently or just because of COVID? Have you seen The Help, Aaron? Asked Amanda. I like Gifted Hands, too. Gifted Hands. I haven't seen that one or even heard of it. Rich S says, changing culture in such small amounts that nobody notices and objects, right? It's like turning the water up on a frog. Turn it up slowly and he'll never even notice. He'll sit there and boil to death and never jump out. But if you look at the changes in time lapse, it's mind-blowing how severe the changes are. That's the whole point. Exactly. You're right. I'm down with that idea. And that's kind of what I'm looking at in time lapse. I wouldn't have put it that way, but that's a good way to put it. You got to stand back. You can't see it when you're in it because you're in it and things are coming at you as you're going and you're facing reality one-to-one. But if you step back far enough where you could see the whole of it, it's incredible how drastic everything has turned from. It's like the Overton window fell off of the damn slide. You know, it's not even moving. It's just, it's gone, you know. Aaron says, that's the one with the pie, right, Amanda? I don't know. Amanda says, yes, Aaron, chocolate pie. That's a great movie. I haven't seen it, I guess. Aaron says, eat my shit. That was great. I like a lot of Medea's movies too, says Amanda. I hadn't seen any of them. Not a big fan. And the reason isn't because he's black. It's because he's copying Eddie Murphy. And I liked it when Eddie Murphy did it. I didn't like it when he did it. Rich S says, okay, you guys are getting silly now. What are you talking about? Getting silly in what way? Amanda says, yes, Aaron, and LOL Rich. Maybe I read that wrong. Amanda says, Rich, have you seen The Help? Linda Davis says, the last time I went to the movies was 2001. Besides kids' movies, that is. I'm so lost when I look for a movie to watch. I'm so out of touch. I feel the same way, but it's not because you're out of touch. It's because all the movies are garbage. All of them. The last time I went to the theater, the last time I went to the theater was to see Batman with my mom, the one with Christian Bale, the first one. That was a long time ago. And I love the theater, by the way. Aaron says, they made all the white people the vampires and called them the hate. The movie is shit and promotes hate. Well, there's a strong take there, Aaron. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but that doesn't surprise me at all. You couldn't be more on the nose these days with movies. They're like not even trying to hide it in the movie anymore. Used to, they could do thinly veiled topics like Star Trek with the half black, half white guy, and they were obviously talking about racism and how it affects a culture. So one guy was black on the right side and white on the left side, and the other guy was black on the left side and white on the right side, and they hated each other, but to everybody else, they looked exactly the same. And they had to point out that they were different. And so that's a thinly veiled version of talking about racism. They don't even do that anymore. They just come right out and say, we hate you. You know, it's ridiculous. Amanda says, shaking my head, Aaron. It's sad these days. Yeah, I certainly don't want to watch anything that promotes actual hate. And here's another thing. Why does every movie have to deal with what we're going through as a culture right now? Whatever happened to period pieces? Whatever happened to fantasy? Like, if I wanted reality, I wouldn't be going to the movies, right? Why does everybody on screen have to reflect what I'm feeling? I don't watch movies to be validated. I don't want to see myself on screen. I want to see something I can't be on screen. That's why I'm watching it, because I want to be that, not this, right? It's like they've forgot what movies are about. It's about escapism. It's about fantasy. It's about voyeurism, living vicariously through the verisimilitude of someone else's life. We don't do that anymore. It's terrible. April says, that's cause you have morals, Jake. Well, I might. I'm not especially trying to have any. It just seems like that's the way life is, right? You got to do something. You got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything, right? Rich says, QQ, Amanda. Who is Elizabeth? I'm looking at merch to buy. Oh, really? This is Elizabeth.
Moonlit skies and fireworks, people laugh, people flirt all night long. But I just stay.
Oh, yeah.
So I drove down to the local bar where people come in their fancy cars and play their games. But I just stay. Then I saw you sitting there all alone in that empty chair right next to you. I fell in love. Oh, baby. You looked down and you took my hand. You said, boy, I hope you understand that I'm not a girl that needs a man. I got my life and all my plans, and if you were there, you'd just be in my way. at that bar where we first met. You smiled at me and my palms got wet, and you just looked away. But I just stayed. You said, been in love and it never works. I always end up getting hurt, and I ain't doing that no more. There ain't no way. Oh no, 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 no. You stood up to say goodbye, grabbed your hand with a tear in my eye, and I just walked away. But you just stayed. But you looked down and you took my hand and said, boy, I hope you understand that I'm not a girl that needs a man. I got my life and all my plans, and if you were there, you'd just be in my way. Girl, it ain't gotta be like this. I'd give you everything but just one kiss, and I don't care what you say. I fell in love with you anyway. Oh, Elizabeth, you take my breath away.
There you go, Rich. That is Elizabeth, and that's what the merch is about. And thank you for checking it out. DJ John says the film Shawshank Redemption is a fantastic film. Yes, it is. Classic, wonderful film. If you hadn't seen it, I recommend you do it immediately. Linda says, I still like Armageddon and still watch it if I find it streaming. That's a good movie, too. Way better than its contemporary Deep Impact, which also stars Morgan Freeman of Shawshank Redemption, same guy. And his part's great in that movie, but it's a much duller movie. Armageddon has all the pop and spice of a good action film. It's a great movie. Aaron says, in real life, he is shit. Sorry, I had to vent about this stupid. Charlemagne the God is a clown. We don't claim him. Well, listen, Aaron. I am honored that you feel trusting enough to vent about this subject with me. And I am honored that you allow me to share my point of view on this subject in a peaceful manner, which does not seem to be a thing that is capable of happening in the world at large. People are so angry that they can't even discuss. And I personally think that two men of an age above 12 should be able to sit down and discuss in multiple directions a topic that involves the world they live in, and do it peacefully and strive for some common ground. And I'm just honored that we can have that talk and you feel trusting enough to be part of this group and talk about it. And you have every right to vent, because a lot of people on that side of things are doing things that should never be done by anybody. And on this side too, it's not one group, it's everybody. The naysayers, there's different versions. There's the inner people, and then the outer people, and then the radical people on the outsides. And those people on any side of any topic are doing things they shouldn't be doing, shouldn't be allowed to get away with. And it's ruining the country, because those people, unfortunately, are the loudest people. Most people feel like we feel, but the fringe people say the loudest stuff and get heard the most. Amanda says, oh yeah, Linda. And also Sling Blade is a good movie with Billy Bob Thornton. I like Billy Bob Thornton, says Amanda. I do too, and he's one of those actors that's different every time you see him. And sometimes it's even hard to recognize him because he's such a method actor. I'm into that guy. Aaron says, classic movie, DJ. Shawshank Redemption. It is. It's a fantastic movie. Well-made story. DJ says, the other film I did like was The Color Purple. I wasn't such a big fan of The Color Purple, but if you like that kind of thing, I would strongly recommend the miniseries Roots. It's a little on the nose and a little bit in your face about it, but to date, probably one of the best movies that deals with that subject, hands down. But it's a very long watch. It's like 6 or 8 hours long. So you got to be in it for the long haul. It's a miniseries, but it was shot like a movie. And my recollection of it, I saw it when I was a kid, but my recollection of it was a very good movie. I'm not a big fan of Oprah Winfrey, so I didn't care for The Color Purple. Linda Davis says, Rich S. Elizabeth is Jake's original song that we all love. Thank you. Amanda says, I haven't seen that yet, DJ, but I want to. What, Shawshank Redemption? Oh, you need to see it. It's a great movie. Rich S. says, oh, okay. Now I get it. Aaron says, I've never watched Color Purple. It's not really that good. There are 5 other movies that handle that subject better than The Color Purple. But it was a landmark movie. It was, of its time, one that people talk a lot about and hold in high regard. So, you might like it. I didn't like it. Dakota Wright says, hey, friends. What's up, Dakota? Long time no see. How you doing? Amanda says hi. And Linda says hi. And then my chat jumped. Hang on. Dakota says, hey, Amanda. DJ says, permanent, Jake. Permanent? What's permanent? Is that a movie? Oh, they closed the Pinewood Studios down permanently. That's terrible. James Bond was filmed at Pinewood Studios. A lot of movies, a lot of 80s movies, they did a lot at Pinewood. Aaron says, it's always funny when I tell them I have mixed kids. That's an unfortunate thing for the mixed kids, that the way that our society is, because they're not going to find a place to put their foot down on either side. And that's not fair. But such is the world we live in. Amanda says, Gifted Hands is about Ben Carson. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that movie. And apparently he's like a whiz brain surgeon, like upper echelon, super smart guy. He ran for office a while back. And apparently he's a genius and invented a bunch of stuff. And I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard a lot about it. Dakota says, hey, Linda, and hey, DJ John. And Amanda says, cool, Aaron. Aaron says, I have a book signed by Ben Carson, Amanda, and Patch Adams, the guy Robin Williams played. Nice. I did see Patch Adams. It was a good movie. DJ says, hi, Dakota and Linda. Thumbs up. Amanda says, we will have to watch The Help, Jake. Okay. And Amanda says, nice, Aaron. And Linda says, Aaron, you have kids? We're all mixed with something these days. True. I would like to find a person that isn't mixed. Old World said Trump announced 100% tariffs on movies. You can't make this shit up, LOL. Well, and welcome to the show, Old World. Come on in, take your shoes off, tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself. Trump did not announce 100% tariffs on movies. He put out a tweet suggesting 100% tariffs on movies. Now, on the face of that subject, I completely understand what he's trying to do with that thought, to bring filming back to America. They don't even make movies in LA hardly anymore. And if they do, it costs out the yin yang because everybody's got their hands out. They will wash you dry if you try to make a movie in LA. So yes, he's trying to bring filming back to America, and he is broaching the subject on Twitter. That is not an official announcement. Now, putting some thought into that would mean that you can't have Lord of the Rings or anything filmed in Paris or anything filmed in Czech or anything filmed in Africa or China or anything else. What does that mean? Does that mean that if they film something in another country, then they have to pay 100% tariffs? Does that include films that are currently being made in other countries? Does that only include the foreign film market as for selling movies or buying movies, but not people making movies? There's a lot that has to go into that thought. That was just a surface statement. Now, I disagree with that surface statement now, but I need to stress this, and if you haven't figured this out yet, you need to. Trump has a modus operandi. He says something outlandish and unattainable, and everybody freaks out about it, but the conversation gets started, and then he works his way backwards until he comes to something that everybody agrees with. And that's how he makes deals. And the left falls for it every single time. It's like they can't help themselves. They have not yet seen the pattern that every time he says something ridiculous but gets a conversation started and then works his way backwards to negotiate a deal that is useful and helpful for everyone. That happens every time Trump does something. And he starts on Twitter, not in the White House. Twitter is not the White House. It's just a place where he can vent ideas, right? He can also judge people's reactions to that idea and then use that as a method of decision making. He can basically poll the country by saying something and then gauging their reaction. I don't know why people hasn't figured that out yet. He's not going to ban all movies being made in other countries. That's ridiculous. But it's meant to be ridiculous to get people like us talking about it, getting it in our heads, getting the idea moving throughout the society so that when he does broach a subject, it'll be something we're accustomed to thinking about in that order. And people will have ideas ready to go when he asks, how would you do this? Which he does. It's actually quite brilliant, that tactic. And I don't know why people hadn't figured this out yet. Some have. Amanda says, hi, old. Welcome. And yes, welcome, old world. I love your name, by the way. We're talking about the old world tonight. And you can make this shit up because he did make that shit up. I mean, his Twitter is in writing, literally. So, Aaron says, yep, all mixed with God. Yep, all mixed with everybody in the world. This whole society of people that we come from is all interbred throughout the ages. For eons, we have been mixed breeding. There are very, very, very few pure-blooded people left in this world. And if there are, I'm not aware of them. And Linda says, amen, Aaron. Me, for example, a lot of people like to call me a white guy. I'm not white. If you read Darwin's book, if you hold any credence to anything Darwin ever said, which I don't, but if you're one of those sciencey people and you think Darwin has the answers, read his book, The Origin of Species, and, read the whole title of that book first, and then understand that there's things going on that you hadn't thought about. But look at how he describes Irish people. I'll give you a hint. Black people are a step up on the ladder than the Irish people in his mind. They're like dogs. That's the way he sees them. That's the way he writes about them. So I'm Irish and Native American. Neither one of those things are white or Caucasian, as you would call it. But such is the life of a light-skinned fella, I guess. You're either dark enough to be considered a person of color or light enough that you're white. Period. A guy in 5th grade told me this, and I've never forgotten it. He said, if you ain't black, you're white. Well, you don't say. You stumped me, buddy. That's how a lot of people think. Amanda says, that part, Aaron. Yeah. All mixed with God. Amanda says, I missed your question, Rich. Sorry, Jake is about to tell you about Elizabeth. Right on. Aaron says, it's like imagination is gone, but I think you have to go outside to learn that, and everything is AI. I agree. Not only do you have to go outside, but you have to experience hardship. Think about, all right, I'm a big Star Trek fan. And also, you got the Twilight Zone and different shows like that came out about the same time, 1969 era. But one of the reasons I'm a big Star Trek fan is because of the storytelling. It's top-notch writing, especially the first season. Top-notch. Those stories stand the test of time. That franchise is 50-something years old, 57, I think, or 58 years old, and strong. Still famous to this day. Hadn't been on TV since the 60s and still has a fan base. Comic-Con exists because of Star Trek. There would be no Comic-Con if there was no Star Trek. All right? The very first one was a Star Trek convention, and most of them up until the mid-'80s were Star Trek conventions. Anyway, who wrote Star Trek? Why is it so good? Well, people that lived through the war and the Great Depression wrote scripts. Not only that, they were classically educated. They were educated in liberal arts. They had an education about literature. They knew about Campbell's hero's journey. They knew about how to tell a story, how to dissect a story. They knew the anatomy of how a story is put together. And they wrote from a position of understanding people. And they wrote from hardship. A lot of them were cops. A lot of them were pilots. A lot of them were soldiers. They all grew up in that era. And then they wrote stuff that was on TV when I was a kid. And that's why all that stuff was so good. Juxtaposed to today, the new guard has taken over, and these are a bunch of college kids that took a bunch of courses that begin with or end with studies, like, whatever nonsense they're teaching in college today. No literature, no classics. None of them have ever looked upon the cover of the Odyssey, for example. None of them have ever cracked the pages of A Tale of Two Cities. None of them have any idea where the line, "You officious little prick," comes from, what book that comes from. Think about it. This whole generation, the only thing they know is what's on YouTube and TikTok. That's the only thing in their brain. The only movies they understand are by watching people do movie reviews and getting people like the red letter media's take on movies or the critical drinkers take on movies. And then they apply that to their writing. Yeah, they know how to write, but they don't have anything in here to write about. So all the stories suck. They're all topical. They're all like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in that vein. They're all talking in hallways with feelings, like CW TV shows. That's what all writers are doing nowadays because that's the only thing they know. And they're so young, the only reference they have is Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how cool that was. They emulate that. Go back 20 years, and these people are emulating the greats. They've read Socrates and Plato. They've read the Odyssey. They've read the Iliad. They've read Romeo and Juliet. Othello. A Knight's Tale comes from that. So the problem is youth. Maybe one day they'll get there. Maybe after living a few generations, they'll get to where they can write good stories. But they're not doing it now. And AI is going to ruin everything. Old World says all movies are agenda-based propaganda, social engineering. Yes, since all media is, including this one. Since the beginning of the radio broadcast, the very first radio broadcast was exactly that, propaganda. And it has never stopped. During the 70s, they had a big thing about the CIA infiltrating Hollywood. And earlier than that, when the Red Scare was going on, there was a bunch of Nazis and sympathizers. That's what McCarthyism is all about. And today, it's no different. Same people doing the same type of things. There's other things going on besides movie making. That being said, and we're all adult enough to know that, you can still appreciate and enjoy movies as a thing, as a subject. This is what we like, so we watch those things. DJ John says, bring back the Carry On films. Funny. I'm not familiar with that. I think I am. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not exactly sure. Isn't that like a group of films that was kind of like Cannonball Run? It's kind of like in that vein, slapstick comedy, silly comedy movies. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not exactly sure. Linda says, I can watch Twister whenever it comes on, but I'm a storm junkie, and I love to sit on the porch and watch storms. Twister was a great movie. The remake, not so much. Now, if you want to know exactly what I've just been talking about, go watch Twister and then watch Twisters, and you will see it unfold right before your very eyes, exactly what I'm describing in this podcast. The lack of the ability to tell a good story, even when it's already been told. Aaron says, me too, Linda. Florida has good ones. Yes, it does. And it's real low to the ground, the sky. It feels like it is anyway. Maybe it's because Florida's so flat. But you can see the storms a lot better there than you can here, where everything's real hilly. Aaron says, lightning capital. Probably. Amanda says, I'd give you everything with just one kiss. Damn, that's a good line. I wish I wrote it. Oh, wait, I did. Amanda says, I fell in love with you anyway. It's a good song. Linda says, we had some really good ones the last few days. Even had a tornado form in the next county over. Nice. I like watching tornadoes. I don't want to be part of one, though. Amanda says, I love watching storms. And then she says, oh, no, 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 which is in that song, and they like it for some reason, but that's the reason for the other T-shirts. Amanda says, I have videos of Irma and Milton hurricanes, I would suppose. Rich S says, anyone have a coupon code for the merch site? Just kidding. What are you trying to say, Rich? Are you trying to say I ain't worth it? Linda Davis says, smiley Rich. Aaron says, I just listened. She told him he would be in the way, and they had held hands. I never heard that when I listened before. And they held hands. You talking about the song? Yeah. It's not a love song. It'll trick you because it feels like a love song, but it's not. It's actually a anti-feminist song. And Rich S says, T.Y. buddy. Thank you, buddy. You're welcome. DJ says, I just looked out my window, fed my friend some nuts. He's a muskrat deer. Interesting. Try retail me not rich, says Aaron. I don't know what that is. But I am trying to get a promo code started. If you'll bear with me a little while, I'll eventually get a promo code up there on that site. It's not a very user-friendly site, so it takes me a little while to figure it out, but I am working on it. Amanda says, I can picture that entire song, Aaron. Me too. Aaron says, it's a good story, Amanda. Thank you. Linda says, Red is a good movie too. The first Red, yes. Yep. With Bruce Willis and John Malkovich and all the other old guys. Yeah, I think that was a good movie. I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it was good. It was fun. It was a lot better than The Expendables, which is another old guy's movie. Amanda says, it is. I had someone ask me if I was jealous about that song. And I told her, hell no, I love that song. It's a baby-making song. Aw. Why would you be jealous about a song? That don't make any sense. It's not like I've never met anyone in my life or ever had any relationships in my life. It would be weird if I didn't. I am a songwriter, so I do write about things I know. But if you really listen to that song, it is not a pro-me song. Hold on, my chat jumped again. Rich says, Amanda says, isn't there a new movie called The Color Purple? I don't think so. That's an older movie. Aaron says, I can't do opera either. Oprah, she's annoying. Right. Yeah, I ain't crazy about her. She reminds me of a very two-faced, snooty type person. Aaron says, either way, Rich. Opera or Oprah. Don't like either one of them. Aaron says, I could care less about her. DJ says, I don't like Oprah woke leader. I don't know if she's a leader, but she's definitely woke. Aaron says, she's fake. She's definitely fake. And I used to love Oprah back in the day when she was did a talk show, like a Jerry Springer kind of show. I remember her from then. My, how the mighty have fallen. Rich S says, does anyone still go to the theater these days? In a few weeks, it's out on stream somewhere. Right, it's almost not worth it to go to the theaters. I haven't been in a very long time. I know people still go. I mean, they're still making big bucks at the theater, so people are still going. But it doesn't make any sense for me, because if I just wait a couple weeks, I can see it for free. Amanda says, definitely, Aaron. And Aaron says, I have an unlimited pass for $25, so I go to the movies, and if I don't like them, it's not that bad. Well, if you got an unlimited pass, it only costs you $25, and you can go to the movies anytime you want to? That's incredible. Old World says, Trump is out of control. Is he? I'm getting a feeling about you, Old World. Are you an anti-Trumper? I haven't seen Trump do anything out of control yet. In fact, everything he's done so far has been working. And he just banned gain-of-function research this week. So that's a good thing. Once again, he saves America while everybody says he's out of control. Bill Bennett says, cheaper to film in Europe than in Hollywood. True. Well, the reason that people go... There's two reasons to go on location. Number one is because you can't get a location like that in America, which most locations you can. We have everything here, every kind of terrain. So you can find a place that looks like what you're trying to film right here in America. But the other reason to go on location is tax rebates. They make it incentivized for people to come to certain places like Canada or Mexico or Brazil or China. Or there's different places that you can get tax breaks, and it's cheaper to film there, and the crews are cheaper than the American crews. So they go over there and film, and then they go over there and film, and then they come back here and produce it all. So it's not a well thought out idea on Twitter, but you only have 120 characters or whatever it is. So it might have been Truth Social. I don't really remember if it was Twitter or Truth Social, but it's a limited idea being posed. Nothing is official. Nothing has been done. There's no executive order. It's not an official announcement, so I wouldn't worry about it. I would take it just like every other thing Trump says, a way to get a conversation started and get people hyped up about an idea so that he can then work backwards towards a negotiation, which is the way he operates. And I don't know why people can't see that. It's pretty simple. Rich says, that seems worthwhile, Aaron. Yeah, for $25, you could go see any movie you want to see. Sign me up. I'll do that. How did you come by that, Aaron? Amanda says Trump is the shit. Magatrez coming soon. Magatrez, yes. MAGA to many people. Too many people have Trump derangement syndrome and Elon derangement syndrome. This is true. I'm actually excited about him reopening Alcatraz, which is another one of those things he just laid out there for people to discuss. Nothing has been done yet, but I did hear Pam Bondi say possibly some people were going to be going to Alcatraz. So it sounds like he might actually do that one, which is hilarious. And also, why not? You have it. It's right there. It's been there the whole time, and nobody uses it for anything. Might as well make it a prison. Rebuild the whole thing. Make a maximum security prison right there in California where all the crazies seem to be. It's a great deterrent. Aaron says, yep, it pays for itself, Rich. Regal offers that deal, and you earn points, so popcorn and drinks come free. Oh, nice. Dude, I want a Regal here. I don't know what our Cinemaplex is. I think it's AMC, but I'm not sure. Rich says, old world, au contraire. He is very much in control. Right on. Old world says, America is not a reality show business, isn't it? In what way is it not a reality show type business? It's more like a wild worldwide wrestling than it is anything else. WWE, WWF, whatever you say it is. It's more like that than anything else. How is it not like Real Housewives of Politics, but for dudes? I think you might be missing the point. It's exactly reality show, and Trump is the perfect guy to run it, being a reality show tycoon that he is. Linda says, theaters are disappearing, Rich. It's sad. I can remember my first date at the movie theater. Nice. And Amanda says, Trump's not a politician. He's a businessman. That's how he gets shit done. Right on. Aaron says, what does that mean, the old world? Is America not a reality business? A reality show business is what he was trying to say. Like housewives, Real Housewives. Like reality TV type stuff. And it really is that way. And they've made it that way. 20 years ago, you didn't have a clue who the Congress members were or who the Speaker of the House was or what, the different Congress people's jobs were or which committees were formed. You had no idea about any of that stuff. You barely knew who the press secretary was in those days. Now you know them by name. Now you know who Jerry Nadler is. Now you know who, whoever. Mike Johnson. Now you know their names. Now you know their faces. Now you know what good side and bad side, the heels and the heroes. And it's very much set up that way. DJ John says, I'm not white. My ancestors are Indian, Asian from the 15th century. Wow. Cool. Like the real Indians. I got you. Old World says, America is not a business. America is a nation of people. Diplomacy is necessary. America is a business. As a matter of fact, it's a corporation. Yes, it is. It absolutely is a business. We have a treasury. We have a cabinet. We have an executive branch. It is a corporation. It's a business that functions in the world. I'm thinking you've never been to college. I'm not trying to be mean, but you're saying things that are contrary to reality. So stop and think for a moment. What does diplomacy mean? Look the word up so you understand what you're saying to yourself. Aaron says, I see that's for help me understand the thought. Right on. Aaron says, thanks. Old World says, thumbs up. Amanda says, woke youth. I don't know. I think Old World is asking some legitimate questions, but he's doing it in a way he might be overstepping his skis a little bit because he's making statements rather than asking questions, which is clearly what he needs to be doing. And we welcome that. If you want to be educated, if you want to know some things about the world you live in, please stick around and ask some questions. I will enlighten you, or someone in the chat will. However, jumping in a place you've never been before and making rash statements that, contrary to reality, don't seem to be in your favor, is not a good way to make friends. I would like to make friends with you. So how about hello? That's a good place to start. Old World says, Trump bankrupted 6 casinos. How is he a good businessman? Now he is bankrupting the nation. Well, I would like for you to do a little bit of research. Here's a little homework for you. Take the top 5 richest people in the world and go look at their business associations through the years, from their youth on up till now. The one thing that you will notice is that many bankruptcies have occurred because people that have bankruptcies are people that take chances, and not all businesses are winners. You understand? Yes, he had a few bankruptcies in his past. He's also a billionaire and the president of the United States. You don't get there by accident. How do you think he became the president of the United States and a billionaire? He started with $1 million, which was a gift from his father, or an inheritance, if you will, or a loan, which he paid back, by the way. And now he lives in Mar-a-Lago, which is one of the most valuable real estate places around. I think you might be reading into the headlines and not seeing reality, as it were. In what way is Trump not a good businessman? Oh, I'm starting to see you're getting booted out of here, Old World. Maybe you said something you shouldn't have said. Maybe you let your emotions lead your brain. Amanda says, LOL, he's not perfect, and he's not going to bankrupt the country. Look what he's already fixed. Yeah, if you want to look for bankrupting the country, look at the previous administration and how many billions of dollars they sent out of the country in every direction, like a sinking ship. No, Trump's not bankrupting the country. He's trying to stop it from becoming bankrupted. Aaron says, I feel like we're in the gap of generation waiting for the next icons to lead, but they are not old enough, and most of the ones we had died. I think that's a very good observation, and you're probably right about that. We like to think of generations in terms of cut and dried locations. This is Gen X, this is Gen Z, this is Gen Millennial, whatever. But it's not really that cut and dried. They overlap quite a lot. And then you have a group of people that do things, and then they fade, and then a new group of people appear, and they fade, and then a new group of people appear, and they fade. And this is happening all over the place in real time, all the time. So you're absolutely right. The new group of people haven't emerged yet. The last group of people weren't so hot. So we'll see how it goes. By the way, please hit that like button, subscribe, share, support, and hit the bell icon so you get notifications of when I'm going to be online. Smash that like button. It's free. It's effortless. It's right in front of you, and it really does help the channel with the algorithms. Helps us get recommended to other people. Won't you do that, please? Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform me, drink my Kool-Aid, make your own Kool-Aid. As long as you're thinking critical, that's what I want. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey, if you love what you hear tonight and you want to help us do more of it, consider supporting the channel by joining it, or buying some merch, or hitting a super chat in the chat box. That helps. But if you want to help substantially, you can go to paypal.me/jakejohnsonband, or if you're a Cash App user, $jakejohnsonband. Every little bit helps. It is a win-win. It's a blessing for me, obviously, but it's a blessing for you too. Why? Because God notices these things, and we will together build entertainment that people appreciate. And now, back to the show. Thank you. Uh-oh. Chat jumped again. Dagnabbit. I ain't never gonna get out of here. There we go. Oh, I went too far. Maybe not. I found it. All right. Aaron says, Retail Not is a site where you type any store and it pulls the coupons if they have any, and it's like a search engine. Oh, I got you. Like that Honey add-on that you could put on your web browser. I got you. Amanda says, there's a new movie, The Color Purple, 2023. It might be a remake of the old movie. I haven't heard of this one. DJ John says, did know that, Amanda. Amanda says, I want to see the new one. I haven't even heard of it. It must not be that good. I'll look into it, though. Oh, I see why you got booted. Probably shouldn't talk like that, old world. You're in the wrong room for that. And Amanda says, definitely old world, but it was all fake anyway. Right on. Talking about the Jerry Springer show, but he used language that we don't like to use. Aaron says, old world, you might want to reword that. Yep. Jerry Springer was born in Britain, says DJ John. Linda Davis says, he can be described as a dirty SOB, but him being Jewish has nothing to do with it. Correct. Most Jewish people nowadays are religious Jews anyway, not bloodline Jews, which would make your hate for them a little weird. Amanda says, WWF, World Wrestling Federation. That's the one I was thinking of. Thank you. Amanda says, what does being Jewish have to do with it? We don't do racism of any sort in here. Watch your mouth, old world. And yes, Jerry Springer's primary function was to desensitize young Americans to the more explicit behavior that the world has to offer. And it was done that way. If you go back and look, remember earlier I was talking about stepping back so you could see the whole thing? A lot of things were done that way for the specific reason of desensitizing people so that they could then use that information to split people into little groups. Because when you divide people, if you go back to the Bible, a divided house cannot stand, says Jesus Christ. When you divide people, they become incredibly easy to control and maneuver and make money off of, because then they become little heated race baiting, little bunches of showering money. How about that for a criticism of the world? And guess who's doing it? The rich people. It's the rich people against the poor people, not black versus white or Jew versus American. Those are silly ideas that divide people. We're all people. We all bleed red blood. Doesn't matter what color you are. What matters is what your moral standards are. That's what matters. You judge a person by their moral acuity. Period. If you judge a person by their moral acuity, you know instantly whether they are good or bad for you. Doesn't matter if they're Jewish or black or white or yellow. It doesn't matter. Debbie says, old world, there is a treatment for drunk derangement syndrome. Yes, there is. It's called Magatraz. Aaron says, a bear killed a man and his dog here in Collier. They are looking for the bear. Hopefully it's not a meth bear. That would be exciting. Linda says, that's the point I was trying to make, Amanda. Right on. And Amanda says, hi, Debbie. Oh, yeah. Hi, Debbie. How are you, sweetheart? Welcome to the show. We're talking about old stuff. Come on in, join the conversation. Amanda says, right, Linda? You're wrong, old world. Jew is both a religion and a race. The word Jew comes from the word Judea, which is of the tribe of Judah, which is one of the 12 tribes of Isaac and Abraham and Jacob. You don't know a lot, do you, old world? Your name is not apropos to your education. You are young world in an old world name. If you were old world, you would know that. Amanda says, Jake will release the Kraken if he keeps it up. Yeah. Especially you're talking about stuff that we're not talking about, but you're scratching an itch that I very much have and will unleash the Kraken. Aaron says, but hating a group is the definition of prejudice. Yes. There are things to hate about people. Their color is the dumbest one of them. I hate people that are one thing but call themselves another thing, so that they give off the impression that they're that thing when clearly they're the other thing. Old world. Amanda says you're in a Christian group and the host is a pastor and knows a thing or two. Debbie says, hi, Amanda. I was just going to read and listen, but I had to comment to old world. Well, Debbie, you are always invited to join in the conversation. You don't have to sit in the back and be quiet. I like hearing from you. Linda says, we don't discriminate on race or religion. Correct. Aaron says, I will caution you again for your statements. Reword it. That was a warning. You're about to get booted, buddy. I think you already have been. Amanda says, it's all good, Debbie. Now join in, LOL. And Debbie says, Jewish can be considered a race. There are some Jews that are not religious. True. Well, Jewish is a race, and it is also a religion. It has become a religion over time as Judeo-Christian values have merged. Judeo-Christian is an oxymoron because they're two different religions completely. But for some reason, we call it Judeo-Christians because our religion is based on Abrahamic belief systems. But we're not Jewish. But there are Jewish people out there that are both religious and non-religious, both of blood and not of blood. A lot of the Jews in the world today have no direct tie to the tribe of Judah, which would make them fake Jews. So that's something you could talk about without using all the Zionist hatred. Amanda says, yes, this is your last warning, old world. We do not talk like that in here. And apparently he doesn't get the message because he keeps doing it. DJ says, everyone welcome, but be respectful. That's correct. You're welcome to put across your point of view. Do it in a way that is respectful and polite. There's a lot of ladies in here, and we're not going to have this nonsense. I welcome you into our little chat, but you can't stay if you can't follow the simple rules of conversation. Simple as that. This is not a privilege. This is a gift. Amanda says, well, refrain from using race or religion in your comment then. Oh, never mind. See ya, old world. Booted. Pa-pow. Got that band hammer. Amanda says, way to go, Aaron. Aaron says, I kindly warned him. Oh, Aaron booted him. I got you. Go, Aaron. Is that your first use of your power? Proud of you. You did a good job. And that's exactly how you handle it. Give warnings. You try to allow free speech, but free speech is only free within the context of the rules. DJ says, Amanda used that hammer and closed the door after him. I think it was Aaron that banned him. Amanda says, you did and I did too. You're absolutely correct. Way to go. Good job, guys. Thank you for keeping the chat decent. Amanda says, no, DJ, Aaron did. I booted his ass. Or LOL booted his ass. Aaron booted his ass. And Rich says, the hammer. DJ John says, at least someone did, because I couldn't. Oh. Amanda says, Aaron wrenched his ass out. That's funny. Amanda says, feels good, don't it, Aaron? LOL. And Aaron says, I tried to be welcoming and ask them to reword, but they clearly just wanted to troll. And that's what we're trying to stop. We want people to have a chance to think about what they said and why it's wrong. But most of the time, they're not gonna. Most of the time, they'll just double down and keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's when you just pull the plug. But if they show some form of actual, synapses firing, hey, maybe I shouldn't be talking like that in front of these people. Maybe I said something in haste. Maybe I could think about the situation a little bit. Then allow them to continue, because that's what we're looking for. If you're going to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. Aaron says, I didn't want to do it, but I did it. DJ says, Jake, be still here Friday? Yes, sir. Oh, you talking about the length of the chat? Yeah. Amanda says, yep, he has Trump derangement syndrome. Clearly, he's probably woke lift. Probably. And Amanda says, you did right, Aaron. And Aaron says, I'm thinking more of a bored kid. Could be. Now, these kids don't have much of a chance. They're not given a lot of information to work with, and the information they're given is heavily skewed in one direction. And I pity them, actually, because they don't really know what's going on. They think they do, and that's even worse. Amanda says, maybe. Aaron says, he thinks it's cool because of the Kanye thing, so they think it's funny. Yeah, I ain't figured out what's going on with Kanye yet. He's like getting a little bit of everything, ain't he? Trying it all. Amanda says, I hear you, Aaron. April says, amen. Hey, April, I forgot you was here. You've been so quiet. Rich says, a pal of mine told me that lately he is starting to like hip-hop music. Jokingly, I told him that maybe while he was in the hospital recently, he got blood from a black person, and the idiot bought it. Well, actually, I don't know if it works with blood. It might. But I have heard of people that had heart transplants that started exhibiting behavior that the that the donor had, like a desire to have sugar, and the person that got the heart never ate sugar, and all of a sudden they couldn't get enough. Or gambling. They never gambled before in their life, and after the heart transplant, now they're in casino gambling it up. I have heard of that. And the reason for that is because there are brain cells in your stomach, in your liver, in your heart, and in your brain. And those brain cells are all part of your memory, which is why sometimes a memory feels like it comes from your gut, because it does. And I know, I could just tell already that there's going to be somebody who's like, you don't know anything about science. How dare you say that there's brain cells in your stomach and your heart? That's not true. Go look. Rich says, just how ignorant some people can be. Yeah. Like convincing somebody that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Amanda says, LOL Rich. And Rich says, not hip-hop, R&B. Right. Rhythm and blues, baby. Linda says, Rich, I really don't like rap music, but I can really get into some R&B. Right on. Rich says, Barry White. Big ass ham. April says, well, we like to out people in time. Our first thought, right? We like to put people in time out first, though, right? Yes. Yeah, it's better to put people in time out because if they are exhibiting any semblance of reformation, if they look like they're starting to learn, then you want them to come back. But there's some people that just need to get booted, and that's just the way it is. Amanda says, oh, yeah, Rich. Time out, says April. But he had it coming. Yes, he did. Rich says, bow, chicka, wow, wow, Amanda. Chicka, bow, chicka, wow, wow. April says, I can't type tonight. That's all right. I can't read tonight. Amanda says, oh, yes, Rich. His voice, ugh, make you sweat. Yeah. I like low voice. I think there's too many high voices in music today. Too many screamers out there. I like the baritone. April says, LOL, Rich, Barry White. Aha. Love it. Sad but true. Rich S says, my darling, I can't get enough of your love. That's the wrong song, ain't it? April says, oh, yes, Rich, I can hear it playing. April says, oh, yeah, Rich, I dig it. You hit the nerve there, Rich. Linda says, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, etc. I like both of those. Keith Sweat, says Amanda. Nah. April says, wow, really? That's so true. Aaron says, that reminds me of the movie Money Talks, LOL, Chris Tucker. I used to like Chris Tucker. He turned Christian and stopped making movies. He's still out there. He tried to make a comeback, but it didn't work because he would come back in the middle of all the woke stuff, so it just didn't happen. But I always thought he was real funny. I love him in Fifth Element. That was my favorite role of his. Linda says, I could cook up a storm while listening. Right on, what you cooking? April says, shut up, Jake. I was 14, LOL. You were. And I never said it was you. Amanda says, there is an awesome R&B radio station in Florida. Aaron, check out 94.5. See if you can get it. Aaron says, I know that station. Right on. Amanda says, LOL, April. And oh yeah, Linda. Love that station. DJ says, good night, everybody. Love you all. Thank you all. It's been a long day. See you Friday. Well, DJ John, get you some rest, buddy. And we love you too. And we'll see you Friday. God bless you, sir. Have a good night. And April says, yes, indeedy. And Amanda says, good night, DJ. And Linda says, good night, John. Prayers and hearts. April says, good night, John Love. Have a sweet dreams, hon. God bless. Aaron says, Michael McDonald had a deep voice. And I was like, wait, when I saw him. Michael McDonald. I'm trying to place who that is. I don't think I know who Michael McDonald is. I might. Rich says, your chat's about to jump. As it does. Rich says, some of you ladies need to get out more often. Ha-ha. What you mean? What you trying to say there? Linda says, you're so right, Rich. April says, aha, fact, Rich. LOL. Ha, Linda. Aaron says, the Fifth Element was so great. Michael Corbin. Michael Corbin. You mean Corbin Dallas? or who's Michael Corbin? Linda says, I'll cook whatever you all would like. Just give me some good music. I'll play you some good music. You make me a steak, I'll play you something nice. Rich says, we should have a reunion. I would have you gals screaming sugar honey iced tea. Good gracious, Rich. That sounds like the man. And we should have a reunion. One day. One day we'll do a big meet and greet when there's enough of us. When we can justify that kind of travel. Sugar honey iced tea. That's shit for those of you that don't know. April says, damn Mark Mandisi, ex-boyfriend, LOL. And Aaron says, I want to try that bread you make. Right on. She does make a lot of good stuff. She's been talking ever since I've known her about stuff she makes. It all sounds delicious. April says, he sings duets mostly. Okay. Amanda says, I want to try some Greek food. Me too. I don't really know what Greek food is. When I think of Greek food, basically I just think of salad or something like it. I'm sure there's more. I know what a gyro is, and I like that. April says, on my own. That's one song. Okay. Aaron says, he sung the song I keep forgetting. And yes, Corbin Dallas. Corbin Dallas. Yes. Multipass. Linda Davis says, my door is always open. I'll take you up on that one of these days. April says, we need to. I think we should. Aaron says, me too, Amanda. Real Greek food. I know two things. I know what baklava and I know what gyros are. And that's it. Greek salad. 3 things. Amanda says, we need to have a ladies' day, Linda. Get all the ladies together and go shopping or something. That'd be fun. DJ says, Michael McDonald and Patty Isabel, or Ebel, Patty LaBelle, I ain't crazy, Patty LaBelle, on my own song. I like Patty LaBelle. Yes, I do. Isn't she? No, she ain't the one that did that last. What did Patty LaBelle sing that was popular? Fab Daddy, happy hump day. What's up, Fab Daddy? Nice to see you, my friend. Amanda says, hi, Fab. April says, Fab Daddy, kissy faces. April says, good to see you, love. Aaron says, what's up, Fab? Linda says, hey, Fab. Wave your hands. Rich S says, all the single ladies, put your hands up. To the left, to the left. When I say hey, you say wallet. Hey. Oh, sorry. April says, yep, that's it. And Fab Daddy says, I'm having a decent day. No complaints. Well, that's always good, buddy. I'm glad you're having a good day. Me too. Aaron says, LOL, Rich, that's funny. And April says, hieroglyphics. And Debbie says, I would rather you take me out back and beat me before I would go shopping. Really? It's terrible, Debbie. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I could probably provide something, but wouldn't you rather go shopping? Amanda says, on my own and new attitude from Beverly Hills Cop. All right. April says, Debbie, smiley face. Well, it don't have to be shopping. Well, y'all guys could get together and go line dancing. I don't know what girls like. Whatever girls like, y'all go do that. Go get facials or whatever. And Fab Daddy says, that's my kind of gal. Right on. Amanda says, I like shopping online. Me too. April says, I understand, Debbie. And Amanda says, I don't like people. Yep. I want a shirt that has every racist epitaph known to man written on it like that in a big circle on the front. Just every bad word that you could call somebody. Every one of them. And then on the back, one line. I'm not racist. I hate everybody. Solve the problem. I don't think I could get away with selling that shirt, though. I would definitely make it if I could get away with it. I'd probably be canceled immediately if I even thought about putting that out. Aaron says, Beverly Hills Cop theme song is legendary. Yep, it is. Also, the first thing I learned to play on the piano. April says, LOL, Amanda. And Linda says, yeah, Deb. I don't really like shopping. I don't really do shopping. I go only when I need something, right? Well, I meant go out looking at stuff. I didn't mean shopping, but, I was trying to think of something girls like. Clearly, I'm not an expert on that subject. April says, okay. Fab Daddy says, in a circle? In a circle. What? Aaron says, I need that shirt. I'd wear it too. I also would like to have one that has a rebel flag and a Malcolm X superimposed on each other, just because I like being contrary. No actual statement, just something that would freak people out if they saw it. I'm into that kind of thing. April says, and a book titled Everything is Bullshit. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I'm literally going to write that book because every day it's more and more apparent that I'm right about that. And the reason I haven't written it yet is because I'm not exactly sure if I am right about it. But everywhere I look, it seems like I'm right about it. Everything is bullshit. I don't want to put something out at the risk of being considered another one of those baiters, trying to stir up trouble where there is none. I don't want to do that. I also don't want it to be taken as a frivolous idea. I want it to be taken literally, seriously. I want people to read that book and go, oh, something's wrong here. The only way I could do that is by pointing out every facet of what I think is the problem. And I think it is a thing you could learn from. Here's the real problem. We do things the way we do them and have always done so. How can you get people to consider a different way of being? How can you, like, for example, this is a completely fictitious, hypothetical situation that I'm making up here that I in no way have any understanding of or experience in. But suppose you were taken to court because your children decided, because the school they were going to fed their minds full of propaganda and nonsense about, gender fluidity. And suppose they decided that the nuclear family wasn't the best idea. And so they decided they were going to destroy the nuclear family by making all the children wards of the state. And you fell into that category. And now you're standing before a court, a judge, and 6 lawyers of the state against you, who has no idea what's going on. And then suppose they just took your family away from you. Well, that's wrong, right? But who do you tell that's above a judge? Suppose you thought that a judge made the wrong idea. Who do you tell? Who do you complain to? You don't know. There is a committee. I bet you didn't know that, but there is a committee of people that you can write a letter to if you think a judge is in error, but you don't know who they are, and you don't expect a response. If you get one, fine. If you don't, you're shit out of luck. Who's above the judge? The president? Try writing the president a letter, see where it gets you. How do you stop something that everybody does, whether they agree with it or not? Is there a way to do that? Can you do that? How do you fix a problem that is beyond your control? the only way is to get enough people to recognize it as a problem and enough people stand up and say, we're not doing this anymore. That will affect change. But you have to have more of you than there are of them. And that is the only way to do it that I'm aware of thus far. Such as the riots that took place during the first Trump administration. Remember how the police just kind of backed away? They didn't do anything. Nobody got arrested. They were burning buildings down. They took over an entire city in California or Oregon or wherever it was. Chaz, remember that? I think it was Oregon. Took over an entire city block. The police station, they vacated it and gave it over to the mob. Why did they do that? Because they could not stop them. There was not enough police officers to effectively end that because somebody's going to get hurt. So they just let them do it because there was more of them than there were of us. That's the only way to stop that kind of problem. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you got to make the statement. You have to put it out there. You have to tell people this is a problem and then hope against hope that enough people hear that and go, oh, yeah, that is a problem, and then get angry enough about it to stand up and say, we're not going to do this anymore. That is the only choice you have. So whether or not I ever put a book out, whether or not it'll ever have any effect, we'll see. Fab Daddy says, that's a big book. It will be a big book. It'll have to be. Debbie says, I might be the only one that thinks the rebel flag is not racist and the Malcolm X is just the black version of the KKK. Well, no, not exactly. I see what you're saying. Malcolm X had a point. It might have been a little overexerted, but he did have a point. If you read his writings, there were things that he was actually talking about that did matter. I'm not so big on the followers of Malcolm X and the things that they've done, the Ibram X. Kendis and that sort of thing. But Malcolm X himself, if you listen to what he said, there were some things that I agree with, and there was an actual issue that he was talking about. The rebel flag is just that, a flag of rebels. It's a battle flag. If you go look up the history of it, they flew it during the Civil War when in battle. The Civil War was over commerce. It was not about slavery. Slavery was involved on both sides because slavery was going on at the time. But that's not what they were fighting over. They were fighting over commerce and the disenfranchised not wanting to join the Union because they wanted to have their own thing. The South wanted their own thing. They didn't want to become the United States. And they were resisting that. And it was about commerce because the North shut off supply lines and a bunch of stuff. It was a very complicated situation. And during that time, a group of people from Georgia flew a flag during battle. That's the battle flag that we all know as the rebel flag, made famous by the Dukes of Hazzard, most likely. I'm sure it was popular before that, but it is not racist. I am from Georgia, and for many, many years, including the year I was born, that was the Georgia state flag. Ergo, that's why I like it. It's also because it's a strong symbol, and I like symbolism. But I'm not saying anything by it. If I have a rebel flag, which I do have lots of them, I'm not saying, look here, I'm a racist. I'm saying, look, I like rebel flags. That's it. People, especially race baiters, have made it a racist symbol, and people bought it, so now it's a racist symbol. It didn't used to be. And if you go back to the 70s, you'll see something very peculiar about that rebel flag. A lot of black people were sporting it. I'm just saying. Go look. You'll see. That was before the idea that it was racist became a thing, and which happened in the early 2000s, by the way. And the KKK, started by Democrats, was a racist from the inception. Now, that being said, they did do some good stuff in the earliest part of the days. When they first formed, they did have some family outreach stuff and some community stuff that they did that was good. But real quickly, it became a ridiculous version of something that is opposite of what they intended by starting it, and then it became racist. Much like the BLM movement. Started out as a good idea, quickly taken over by crazies. That's just the way movements go. And if we're not careful, the MAGA movement can have that same thing happen to it. Fab Daddy says 900 plus pages. It'd probably be more than that, buddy. Be like a phone book. Aaron says the new yellow pages. Yeah, right. April says, yeah. Tell them to read the Bible. Seek God. Absolutely. Fab Daddy says the next judge. There is no judge above judges. There's the Supreme Court. But here's the thing. If you're in a local court, you can't just go to the Supreme Court. That's not your decision. You have to appeal, and then you go to an appellate court, which is above the court that you were in, the local court. And if you get seen, if you lose that case, you can appeal, and most likely it'll just get dropped because the appeal is the appeal. That's the end of it for most cases. But if it's a case that has enough legs, maybe you get a petition going or something like that. Maybe there's a congressperson or something involved. There's something that has to happen that goes up to the next state where you go up to a big court, a state court. And then if that doesn't go the way you want it to go, then you can make moves to go to the Supreme Court. You can take it all the way up in steps, only if you get the right stuff involved. You can't do it yourself. There has to be other elements that cause that to happen. And you can't take a normal case that happens every day and then just say, I want to take this to the Supreme Court. You better have a lot of money. A lot. And most people go bankrupt before they ever get there. So there's no point in even doing that. So again, I ask, who do you complain to? There is no one above the local judge. They don't have a boss. I mean, somebody signs their paycheck, but it's not somebody you can talk to. Maybe the congressman or, governor. But if the governor is a Democrat and you're in a Democrat court fighting a Democrat talking point, again, who do you talk to? They're going to side with the court. You lose. Here's a newsflash, fellas. You lose. Now, say you take all that stuff and then add that to a single father who is just trying to raise his kids. You lose. There is no fighting it. And then, here's the kicker of it all. Then the damage is done. So even if you win, which will take many years to do, you've already lost because the thing that you're fighting for was successfully removed from you. So it is a fool's errand. You are over a barrel. There's nothing you can do. It's bullshit. But that's the world we live in right now. And there's a lot of things like that scenario, that completely fictitious, completely made up, not anything I would know anything about scenario, is exactly what we're living in right now in many, many, many instances. April says, yes, that and the state attorney general. Right. But if that's a Democrat, guess what happens? You don't see the state attorney general. You get dismissed. And then who do you talk to? Suppose you don't agree with any of them. Who do you talk to? You're in a state ran by Democrats who have lower courts that are operated by Democrats in a Democrat city, in a Democrat courthouse, fighting a Democrat talking point against Democratic lawyers. Who do you talk to? How do you solve that problem? How do you make it a problem that everybody sees? How do you call the news channel, but all the news channels are Democrat-leaning channels. So they're not going to pick the story up because it's not egregious to them. That's what they want to happen. So what do? It is oppression at its finest. Fab Daddy says appellate court, then Supreme Court. Yeah, if you got enough money to get it that far and enough people willing to allow you to go there, most of the time the appellate court is the end. And if you lose there, you've lost. That's it. Rich S says, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Marvin Gaye. I was trying to think of his name Monday night, and I couldn't think of it. Marvin Gaye is probably the reason I'm alive today. It was one of my parents' favorite songs. They would stop what they were doing and start dancing. Sweet, but icky. Not icky at all. That's adorable. That's how babies are made, buddy. That's a good thing. Most of us are probably conceived to some form of Marvin Gaye song or something of the like. Wow, chat jumped a lot. April says, I believe Trump would answer your questions. I believe he would too if he ever heard them. If I could get a letter to him. Rich S says, who changed the subject, LOL? Nobody. Subject is just bouncing around. I didn't know we had a subject. Fab Daddy says, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Yes. Great song. April says, I can hear that. Done now. Listening. I can hear that. Done now. Listen, baby. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't a river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Ooh, it's a good song. Linda says, I went to our congressman and senator to go. I went to our congressman and senator to go to bat for my first foster child to make CYS let him live here with us before I was certified foster home. And how easy was that to do? April says, singing it now. Fab Daddy says, great. Now I got 2 songs stuck in my head. Rich S says, you could do worse, Fab, right? Aaron says, the rebel flag usually is not used as a race symbol when educated people have it, but like anything else, some bad people have used it. Yes. Yes, they have. The same thing with every other symbol, right? Satanists use the cross upside down and broken, but it's still the cross. Yes. There have been bad people use that symbol. There certainly have. And if you go down into those bad people, you'll probably find out that some of them are from Georgia. And the situation probably arose in Alabama or something like that. It's probably why that flag is there in the first place. I doubt very seriously that they thought in their minds, we need a way to show these people how much we hate them. I know, let's get a rebel flag and fly it. That'll show them. I doubt very seriously that happened. But you're right. Appearance is everything, which is why I stopped proudly, broadcasting that I like rebel flags, because I don't want people to get that opinion. I don't want people to think that about me, because that ain't what I'm saying at all, right? Not even in my head. But there are bad people out there, and they do bad things with normal things. But, Hitler drank water. To all you people that drink water, just know, Hitler loved drinking water. And he walked everywhere he went, too. Aaron says, it don't bother me as long as the people are good. Well, that should be that way with everything. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Rich S says, the rebel flag is the same as the Confederate flag. Well, yeah, that's the same flag. It's a battle flag. Confederate, meaning the Confederate Army. Fab Daddy says, I just think they like the Dukes of Hazzard, right? As they should. It's a great show. Linda says, dang, Rich, you are coming in with some good songs. Right on. April says, yes, which most are still in cults. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that cult behavior going on these days. Which, I thought we kind of did away with that sort of thing in the 80s with their extreme cults that were happening, like in California and stuff, Heaven's Gate and all that sort of thing. But apparently they hadn't gone anywhere. They're still around. The Moonies, remember the Moonies? Remember the Hare Krishnas? No airport was safe. Dennis Bigfoot, what's up, buddy? He says, he's speaking facts. Little short-worded. It was in the Constitution, had in it that if the colonies wanted out of the Union, it was okay. Right. And when they tried to do that, they got into a fight. It's very short-worded because I was trying not to get into a political thing with that. I was just trying to illustrate the overarching point. But you're right, it was very short-worded. But that is fact. Amanda says, hi, Dennis. April says, get another judge. Yes, can't. You're in a small town. There's only one courthouse, and there's only 3 judges working that courthouse. And that's the judge you got. Rich S says, so to cap this conversation, this country has a rich history and has had lots to improve upon. That being said, it is the finest nation in the world under God. Ask the millions that immigrated here. Oh, I agree 100%. Even though we have our problems, there's no place on earth better than America. We live in the greatest country in the world, and it's high time that the young people of America start recognizing that. I am so sick of hearing people say how bad America is. It's not. It's the best place on the planet. And Debbie says, yes, Jake, that is what I meant. The followers of Malcolm X and what they turned the movement into is what I think is the black version of the KKK, both although they did not start as hatred, but ended that way. Yes, I agree. You're absolutely right about that. Fab Daddy says, usually the Supreme Court cases are because different jurisdictions differ on rulings. Right. Well, also, the Supreme Court is the final word on anything. And if they take a case, they can set precedent, set law based on their decisions, right? They're the big court in the land. But getting to them in a small arena is almost impossible. It's not easy to do. And especially when you don't really understand how all that works in the first place and you got to kind of find your way while you're fighting for your life. If you're in that kind of situation, it's not a good place to find yourself if you're one of those people. Dennis says, the southern states wanted to disband the federal government and the North didn't. And that's what it was over, not slavery. That was 2 years into the Civil War in an effort to get more people behind them. Correct. And by the way, slavery was happening in both the North and the South. I don't know why people think only the Southern people had slaves. That's not true at all. Linda says, Rich S., your parents had the kind of love we all dream of having. Amen. Dennis Bigfoot says, hey, Amanda. Now, how you doing, Dennis? I don't know if I said hi or not, but hi. And Debbie says, too many judges follow the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law, and they changed it to fit their narrative. Very true. And when you find yourself before one of those judges that is doing that very thing, man-hating and all, it is very difficult to come out a winner in that situation. And if your family happens to be what's at stake, say la vie. Don't really care, buddy. Your problem, not mine. April says, find a lawyer who's not a Democrat. Good luck. Find a lawyer, period. Good luck. what it is. What's up, buddy? Message retracted. Well, that's not a way to start a conversation. April says, it can get expensive for sure. Aaron says, if an independent president won, that would... if an independent president won, what would that change or mean? I'm asking because I don't know enough about it. Well, that would mean that the two-party system that is currently at power is not very strong. So that means that they're not ever, under any circumstance, going to allow a third party to win. They allow a third party to present so that they can claim freedom and democracy. But this is a two-party system. Don't kid yourself. There will never be an independent president. It wouldn't work. And the reason it wouldn't work is because the entire system is built Democrat and Republican. Right? There is no room for a third party. If a third party president won, neither side would be willing to do anything for them. The House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the courts of the land, the media, they're all Democrats and Republicans, mostly Democrat. They're not going to allow a third-party president to do or affect anything. They would basically, if they won, would just have to sit there until their time ran out because nothing would ever happen. In my opinion. April says, hi, what it is, love? Heart. Amanda says, hi, what it is and what it is says. You tell them to truck off, right? What it is says sexual healing. I've got a shirt that says sexual chocolate on it, and it's got Eddie Murphy as that guy on that Coming to America, I think is the movie. Sexual chocolate. April says, LOL, what it is. Richie S says, good one, what it is. And what it is says, hello, Amanda, and to all. Dennis says, not much because the president would not have a term. They'd be a statement everywhere, right? Rich S says, next one for the ladies. Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song. Keeps Georgia on my mind. Amen. That little Ray Charles, baby. That's the way to go. April says, Georgia on my mind. Aaron says, legend. It's a man's world. It's a man's world. It's a man's world. It's a man's world. Hey. I love James Brown. Linda says, it wasn't easy, but CYS wanted to know who we were to get it done that quickly, LOL. I hear you. I had no such luck. I tried everything. Amanda says, oh, yes, Aaron. I mean, the hypothetical person did. April says, he also made rockets. Who did? Aaron says, I love Superbad, too. Superbad, that's a good movie. Aaron says, Elton John, it was your song that made me sing. That's a good song. That was featured in the movie Moulin Rouge, sang by a British fella that was in Star Wars. Can't think of his name. Linda Davis says, build me up, buttercup. Aaron says, frankly, lineman, why do fools fall in love? Nice. Dennis says, lots of what is done in politics is done to divide us. Amen. That's where the racism comes in, like the African Americans thing. They are African ancestors, but they are Americans, period. I agree with that. I never liked that when they first started it. A long time ago, I remember when they first started using that term, and I was like, yeah, those people have never seen Africa. How can they be African Americans? That would be like me being called an Irish American. I don't know anything about the Irish. I was born in Georgia. I don't know anything about the Indians, though I'm mostly Indian. April says, LOL, Rich, be stroking. Love all those songs, Aaron. Stroking to the east, stroking to the left. I love that song. Fab Daddy says, I know of a few compounds, religious, in this state, some weird beliefs, to each their own. Oh, yeah. There's a pyramid in Eatonton, Georgia. A pyramid. And there's black dudes out there with machine guns at the gate. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's a little strange. I think it's a Nubian thing, though. There's a lot of Nubian people in Eatonton, Georgia, so I'm thinking it's something to do with that religion, but I'm not exactly sure. Aaron says, April, yeah. Fab Daddy says, there's a whole community who believe they are aliens from another planet. Nice aliens. Don't call ice on them, right? Well, that would be Scientology. Aaron says, Best of My Love by The Emotions gets me dancing. Nice. Johnny Ace, Forever My Darling. Love only you. Always and forever. My love's true. Dennis Bigfoot says, My grandchildren are mixed, but I say they are 100% American. Color is just that, color. No one gets to pick it. So it's dumb to make it more than that. I agree 100%, Dennis. If you peel back that layer of color, it's red on every single one of us. I don't understand why color or even nationality is an immutable characteristic that anybody could care about, considering we're all mixed breeds of some kind. All of us, every one of us, hands down. I don't know of a single pure-blooded person. Who cares? If you're a good human being, that's all I'm asking for. Amanda says Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner. Yes, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. I wish I could sing. My voice is killing me. April says, hi, Dennis Love. And Dennis says, hey, y'all. Hey, April, sorry. April says, oh, yeah, Amanda, right on. Dennis says, exactly. Aaron says, so they should remove that party then. Well, if they did that, then they wouldn't be considered democratic. It's a democracy. Democracy. Never mind the fact we live in a constitutional republic. We do not live in a democracy. But democracy. It's a fake choice. It's a false trilogy. Triathlon? What do you call that? 3? It's 3 choices, but only 2 of them matter. Everything's a dichotomy. Just remember that. There are no 3 choices. There's only 2 choices in everything. Every road has a fork. And yeah, they should remove it. April says, I love that movie. LOL. Rich says, you guys are a hoot. Well, thank you, Rich. Aaron says, LOL. When I ran track, they used to call me that, and I hated it. Red Skittle. I never knew why. They called you Red Skittle? And I still don't know why. Fab Daddy says, have a good night, 2 and 5. Stay between the lines and follow all the rules. Never. If you haven't hit that like button, rule number 1. Broken. Shame. Go now and sit in the corner. Thank you, Fab Daddy. God bless you, sir. I'm about to go behind you. My voice is leaving me as we speak. Dennis says, furthermore, it's the way they want it. But they fixed things that would get them elected, so they don't fix things. They fight over it and blame each other. If they fix things, that wouldn't get them elected. Yeah. People have to have a platform to fight about, right? So if you get a politician that's running on change, be careful because he's going to create the problem that they need to change from. April says Hitler. Aaron says Superbad, the song. Oh, the song. I was thinking the movie. Linda Davis says Night Fab. April says much love, Fab Daddy, sweet dreams, hugs, and God bless. And Amanda says good night, Fab. And Aaron says, I say that same thing, Jake. If you dropped me in Africa, I would be like, oh, hell no. They got lions and shit, right? I agree, 100%. April says, I agree too. Debbie says, Dennis, I was taught we're all part of the human rainbow, and where our particular shade lies makes no difference. I like that. Rich says, I got one for you. Oh, good lovin'. The girl's got plenty good lovin'. Ask me how I know, and I'll tell you so. She used to be my girl. Who sung it? She used to be my girl. I don't know. The Sherry guy. Sherry baby. What's his name? I can't think of his name. All I can think is Richie Valens, but that's not it. Aaron says the Young Rascals. Rich S says close. Amanda says Rascals. Aaron says Grateful Dead. Amanda says the Rascals. Rich says come on, bro. Aaron says they sung it. Sexual Chocolate, says Aaron. Jake. Rich says, used to be my girl. I can hear the song, I just don't know who sang it. Dennis says, politics uses our differences to divide us into groups, to put us against each other. Question anyone who tells you different. I agree, 100%. Amanda says, my girl, the Temptations. Aaron says, oh, Rich, I got it now. April says, OJ's. And Amanda says, okay, April's right. Rich says, yeah, baby. Ding, ding, ding. Aaron says, Backstabbers was good too. April says, the Temptations are my fave. Debbie says, the OJ's. April says, Temptations, Jake. I hear you. Isley Brothers, says Aaron. Amanda says, oh, yes, Aaron. April says, they were all good. Aaron says, who's that lady? Who's that lady? Who's that lady? Debbie says, I did not see April. I had a commercial and then typed it. Right on. April says, love some Motown. Motown was great music. Interestingly enough, most of the Motown music was recorded by 4 white guys. One of them was a lady. It's called, trying to think of the Demolition Crew? Something Crew. I can't remember. Something Crew. They recorded in Alabama at Muscle Shoals. The Wrecking Crew. That's it, the Wrecking Crew. A lady named Carol plays bass, and then 3 white guys made most of the Motown. Aretha Franklin included, James Brown, all of it. And it's very alarming when you learn that fact that most of all the music from the 60s and 70s was all 4 people. Same 4 people. Didn't matter who was the singer. Amanda says, oh, that's the jam, Aaron. Aaron says, that's guitar. Right on. Rich says, we all on the same page. I like it. That's a great place to be, Rich. Amanda says, man, I'm going to have to get my 94.5 up here. They got to have an app or Alexa can get it. I'm pretty sure you can find it on the internet. Rich says, although you all are much older than me. Ha ha ha. Well, I knew that already, Rich, but that's okay. Age is just a number. Aaron says, I'm 43. And Amanda says, LOL, not much, Rich. How old are you? And Debbie says, Rich, are you calling me old? Careful there, buddy. April says, yeah, great history. Rich says, mm-hmm. Amanda says, I'm 44. And Dennis says, Whitney was my love music. Hear her now, and it hurts my heart. I liked Whitney Houston. All right, that's the bottom of the chat, and it is 11:28, so I'm going to go to bed now. I got to go to work in the morning. Thank you all for the great conversation. I hope we all learned something. I hope we all thought about something, and that's important. And most of all, I hope we all had a good time. I know I did. I can't wait to see you guys on Friday. I love each and every one of you. Thank you to those who have provided some super chats or some support in some way. It means a lot, and I appreciate you. And also, thank you for those of you that contributed to the conversations. Fantastic. That's exactly what we're trying to do here, so keep it up, guys. Rich S says, fun times. And Linda says, well, Rich, we can't all be young bucks, but we are like fine wine. We get too old, we'll break our bottles. April says, oh, Dennis, I still love her. I grew up listening to her. Debbie says, good night, all y'all. Debbie, God bless you, sweetheart. Amanda says, good night, all. See you Friday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time right here on Untethered Live for some chill stream. Much love to y'all. And Aaron says, and they had a house band called the Funk Brothers. Right on. April says, much love to everyone. God bless and sweet dreams. And Linda Davis says, smiley faces and good night, all. Heart. Well, good night to you too. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. Dennis says, good night, all. Be safe and happy. Walk with God, as always. Aaron, in vogue, says Amanda. All right, I'm gone. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.